Hello everybody, good evening, welcome to another Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk in the glorious southeast corner of Scotland, which of course is the capital of literally everything, including all dimensions and even dimensions never even conceived of or imagined yet. Yes, I decided to recycle that joke. It's been a while since we had that one, so I thought I'd bring it back just for today only. All right, so now that we are over and done with the Fender Studio launch, I am intrigued. I have to admit, intrigued to know if any of you have actually downloaded it and given it a try. If you have, then please say so in the chat. That would be very cool. If you haven't, you can get it from your favorite app store for your mobile device or your PC or your Mac. So on iOS, it's on the iOS App Store, Mac, on the Mac App Store, Microsoft Store for PC, or the Samsung Galaxy Store, or Google Play. And if you're on Linux, there is a special download button on the Fender website where you can get that for your Linux machine if you are on Linux. So if you've downloaded it and given it a try out, then please do say so in the chat, because I think it would be quite interesting to know how many of you have given it a try out. Now, obviously, I've been using it for quite a long time because I've been involved in it. So yeah, so I've been involved quite heavily in not the actual development of it, because I'm not a coder, but I've certainly been involved in testing it at all stages. So I've been using it for quite a long time, and it is great fun. It is definitely a great fun little app to use, and I found all sorts of creative recording scenarios for using it. So yeah, I'd be quite intrigued to see how many of you have actually downloaded it and given it a try out to see what it's like. And I'd also be interested in your thoughts. What you think? You know, do you think it's good? Do you think it's useful? Now, it is very bare bones basic, and that's by design. It's meant to be bare bones basic. And at the moment, it only records audio, and hopefully at some point, maybe down in the future somewhere, maybe there may be some way to record MIDI as well. But at the moment, it's not MIDI, it's just audio. So if you're a guitar player or a bass player, and I know that some of you are, then the companion device that was launched at the same time was the Link.io, also by Fender, which is well worth getting, because basically you can connect that to your iPad or your iPhone or your Android device, and basically that works like an audio interface. And then you just plug your guitar or your bass directly into it, and there's a little headphone jack as well, so you can use, you know, a pair of these if you want to use a good pair of headphones for recording, and away you go. Basically, you can record and use that device to get a high quality recording sound, rather than just sitting your iPad or your iPhone in front of your guitar amp. I mean, you can do that, but you might not necessarily get the best results. But Link.io should certainly give you some pretty decent results with being able to directly connect your guitar or your bass. or even your keyboard output. I've actually tried the Link IO with the Nord to see how that would work, recording into my iPad, and actually it worked pretty well. It worked pretty well indeed. I was quite surprised. So well worth making use of, I think. All right, let's go see who is here. See, Billy Morgan has restored himself as being first in the door again. We got Tony Stringer here. We've got Christina here as well. We got Dwayne from Pocatello, Idaho. And we got Kyle, who is watching on his TV because he has FID on order. Let's see, we've got Boris Dancy as well. We've got Keith from Radio Talk Frumpet, who informs us that Rick Beato just finished a 3-hour stream whilst he was getting to 5 million subscribers. 5 million, that's a massive achievement. So I don't think Rick will be watching me because he has no idea who I am at all, but congratulations to Rick Beato on reaching 5 million subscribers. That is a massive, monumental achievement. Congratulations to you. We got Just Bob here. We got Don Oliver. We got Steve as well. Steven is here. We got Ron, also known as Keyman, and he says present and or accounted for. Well, you can be both. Although existentially, I suppose you could be either or. Who else is here? I think that's it, pretty much. Ron said it would be good, something good to have for those long hours on the tour bus. Absolutely. And actually, I kind of thought it might be quite a cool way to be able to kind of just capture some songwriting ideas. Particularly if you're on the road and you're on the tour bus, as you say, yeah, and you want to get some ideas for some new songs, kind of just documented, and then, you know, when you get back home to the studio, once the tour is over, you've got all of those documented, and then you can send them to Studio One via DAW project, and then you can kind of add to what you got from your songs. So what you got from your initial song ideas. So I think that's a great application of Fender Studio. Definitely. All right. Arami is also here. We got 17 people here, which is great. So if you have a Studio One question, I'll also take some Fender Studio Ones as well, but primarily Studio One questions, because that's what this show primarily is about. And you've got some broader questions about mixing or mastering or recording processes in general, then you can get those in the chat. If you are new here and you are watching for the first time, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Please hit that subscribe button. And as you'll notice that the live chat is in subscriber mode only. So in order for you to ask a question in the chat, you are going to have to subscribe. I have it in subscriber mode only. So once you have hit that subscribe button, you've hit that notification bell, you've selected all notifications, wait for just 2 minutes, and then the chat will be open to you, and you can then ask your question away. And also you can just say hello. I'd love to say hello to you too, and name check you. That would be pretty awesome. And of course, I appreciate your subscription, because I don't just do a Sunday Night Live show. I also do a Wednesday show, which is more geared towards songwriting, composing, arranging, and music theory. So if you are a songwriter, or you're a composer, or you're an arranger, or you have some music theory questions that you'd like to ask, Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central is the time and the place to be back here on this channel. It's called Songwriting Simplified. And I'd love you to come along to that show as well. That would be pretty cool too. And also, I do have a bunch of tutorial videos on this channel as well, which you are definitely welcome to go and check out. And I've got overviews of previous versions of Studio One, all the way back to version 3.5. So if you'd like to go check out those videos and see kind of what's been added to Studio One over the years, then that would be the place to go do that. Go check those out after the show. I have playlists for all of those. So there's a 3.5 playlist. There's a 4.0 playlist. There's a Studio One 5 playlist, a Studio One 6 playlist, and a Studio One 7 playlist. And obviously the Studio One 7 playlist is still being added to. There's more videos to come because I don't think we're done with Studio One 7 yet. So please do check those out. And of course, if anything new comes down the line from PreSonus, I'm going to talk about it here. I'm going to review it here. So this is the place to be, really, if you want to find out what's new with PreSonus in terms of software. I don't tend to cover hardware gear because really I've only got the one camera. It makes it a little bit difficult for covering hardware gear. I need some more cameras in order to be able to do unboxing and stuff like that. But, you know, I would like to do some hardware videos. But like I say, I really do need a couple more cameras in order to be able to make that possible. I've also got some studio tours. So if you want to see how my studio has developed over the last several years, go check out those videos as well. And you can see just how much improved this room is. And this is pretty much it. This room is pretty much it. We're not going to be moving from this house anytime soon. All right, so I do have a couple of questions already, as you can see in the chat. If you want to ask a question, please type at Jonny Lipsham Studios, just as Just Bob has done, and then type your question. Because what that does is that highlights my name in red and makes it easier for me to see it. And, you know, so that I don't lose it in amongst all the other chats. And I like you guys talking to each other and getting to know each other. So I don't want to stop you chatting in order to ask questions, but just do the at Jonny Lipsham Studios to start with, and then it'd be dead easy for me to pick out your question, just like Just Bob has done. I do have an emailed question as well, which I'm going to get to first. So if you want to email a question to me, then you can do that. All you got to do is just go and type in this web address that's at the bottom of the screen here, and then click on the menu item called Contact Us, and that'll take you to the contact form. And then you can fill out everything there. Just put Sunday Night Live as your topic, and then you can ask your question in the email. And this week's emailed question comes from Dwayne, who is here, and he wanted to do this via email because he needed a bit more than 180 characters or 160 characters, whatever it is in the chat. I'm not really sure, actually. And I know when you type at Jonny Lipsham Studios, it does rob you of a few characters. So email is a good way to reach me if you've got a bit more of a detailed question. Let's see. So he says, I have a live recording that I've selected one song and exported stems that I pasted into a new song. I'm therefore starting from scratch. I have made vocal tracks, guitar tracks, and drum tracks into colored folders. I have roughly mixed the levels, and I'm not using any plugins yet. For my next step, should I tempo map before I define arrangement areas using the arranger track, I'm assuming? This is a really, really good question. You might not, on first reading of this question, think that it's actually that much of a question, but it is actually a really good question. It's an important question. What do you do next? Now, because this has come from a live show, then my assumption is going to be that everybody is already playing in time. And it already sounds good. Fundamentally, I think it's already going to sound good. And if everything is in time and everything sounds good, unless you are going to be doing overdubs that require everything to be correct to the grid, or you're going to do some editing of the live tracks that require everything to be to the grid, I don't think you need to do any tempo mapping. Tempo mapping is great, but tempo mapping really has its best use when you're going to add something else to the song. So, for example, maybe you're going to replace the drums with Slate digital drums or something like that. Or you're going to augment the drums in some way, and you need those elements to be to the grid. Then yes, tempo map. Tempo map is really important. Get all the tracks in, get them organized, get them kind of platformed, get the gain levels consistent, and do all of that stuff. Do all of that basic stuff first. Then do the tempo mapping. If you know you're going to add MIDI elements, like some additional MIDI synths or some orchestral elements from a virtual orchestral library or something like that. Anything that really requires MIDI, my opinion would be tempo map. But if you're not going to be doing any additions to this, you're just going to be mixing it, don't worry about the tempo. Don't worry about the grid or anything like that. In fact, I would say to stop you from being distracted, set the time base to seconds rather than bars and beats. That way you're not thinking about, okay, nothing's in time to the grid, nothing's in time to the count. Don't worry about that. Are they in time with each other? Is the playing good in that respect? If it's not, then maybe you might need to do a little bit of tempo mapping, and then you can do a little bit of slip editing to kind of get different bits to line up if there's some playing that's a little bit out of time. But otherwise, I would say just don't bother. I've done mixes like what you're talking about, where somebody has sent me a live show, I've chopped it up into separate songs, and for each song, I've mixed the song. I don't bother with any sense of time or tempo. There's just no point, really. And I make sure that when I do my renders, I make sure that anything that is printed or rendered, that no tempo data is written to the tracks. Because I've already made that decision. I'm not going to bother about time. I'm not going to bother about tempo. I'm not going to bother about the grid. None of those things are important because everybody's already playing in time. I'm not worried about that. So yeah, make sure that you don't write any tempo data to the song when you're doing your exports. So that would be the important thing if you make that decision. And like I said, I've done live albums before as a mix engineer. I don't worry about tempos. I really don't. It's not important unless I'm going to add some MIDI elements. Then yes, it's important. But otherwise, no, don't worry about it. And if you're going to do some overdubs, then the only issue you're going to have is with a count in before where you're going to drop your overdubs in. So if you're going to be doing punching in and punching out, it's going to be a little bit harder for you to exactly get where you want the cursor to start playback before it then goes into punch in mode and punch out. Those kind of things are going to be a little harder to finesse, but it's not going to be too terribly difficult. You just kind of need to, as you're lining things with the loop zone and where you're going to place the cursor, you just need to kind of just listen to the song a little bit and kind of place it in the most musical place you can think of. And then, so that gives whomever is doing the overdubs a little bit of a chance to get the tempo of the music that they're listening to, that they're going to be recording to, inside of them. And then they can do a really good performance that feels like it's part of the live show. So that's really going to be the only issue that you may encounter if you're doing some overdubs. Then yeah, maybe tempo mapping might be the way to go. That way, the metronome is going to follow that tempo map. And so the counting before it is going to follow that tempo map as well. But otherwise, I really don't worry about it, to be honest. But that's a great question. Really good question. Okay, let's go back and see. We mainly want to rearrange the song, maybe add a harmony track. Okay, so you are going to be doing some overdubs. Okay. Then yeah, tempo mapping would be a good thing to do. That would be it. That would be, in fact, your next step, as you correctly said. All right, so Just Bob has a question. He says, does Fender Studio allow you to record with your phone's mic? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. By default, if there is no audio interface like the Link IO connected to it or the PreSonus Audio Box Go, if those are not connected to the device like the phone or the iPad, then it's going to default to using the onboard sound card built into it, which means ostensibly it's going to use your phone's microphone by default. So yes, it will use your phone microphone. You know, these days, phone microphones are actually pretty good. You can actually get some decent results. Just don't be kind of like right up close on it. Maybe have it at an angle. A few years ago, Graham Cochran set himself the challenge of recording a song using GarageBand on his iPhone. And he recorded everything using GarageBand on his iPhone. And yes, he did record the guitars with the phone's microphone, and he recorded the vocal with the phone's microphone as well. And again, it's about getting the microphone the correct distance away from your mouth and also not directly in front of you, so you don't overload the microphone with plosives and things like that. And maybe you could actually use a pop filter. That might help as well. Stick the phone behind a pop filter. So those plosives are not going to hit the microphone. But alternatively, if you don't have a pop filter to hand, then certainly stick the phone kind of like sideways onto you, so you're singing across the phone's microphone rather than directly into it. And then if you're recording guitars to record your guitar amp, then it would be a case of doing some test recordings to find the optimum placement for the microphone. So you might need to improvise a little stand for your phone to make sure that it's at the right spot for recording your guitar amp or your bass amp or whatever it is. So yes, it will do that. What is the info view button? The info view button is exactly like it is in Studio One. It is just like the inspector, basically. The little eye icon in Fender Studio is just like that. It opens up the track inspector rather than at the side, like you'd expect in Studio One. It opens it at the bottom. So, and it will basically show you all the track information, plus you'll have access to the channel strip, the EQ and the compressor, and the reverb and delay controls there as well. Plus you can change the the track's name, the color, the input. You can do, and the icon for the track as well. You can change all of that in that info view. Very, very cool. It's, like I said, it's just like the inspector in Studio One. In that respect. Bobby Booth says he doesn't like being called Mr. It makes me feel old. Yeah, you know, I know what you mean. Let's see. Arami had a question. I'm trying to find it. Okay, Arami asked a question about music notation, which is a great question for Wednesday, which is Songwriting Simplified. That's our notation quest. That's the place for those kind of questions. This is more about Studio One. But it's a good question. What is the tie? And how is it represented? Well, it literally is just like a curved line that joins two notes of the same pitch together. That's literally all a tie does. So let's say you have a quarter note and you want a note to last for 3 beats, but you want it to last 3 beats over the bar line. You can't do like a dotted half note. It's not going to work because that's too much for that particular bar. You gotta, especially if you're in 4/4, that bar has to add up to 4 beats. So if you're putting a dotted half note at the end, it's not on beat 4 of your bar, it's not going to work. Too many beats in the bar. So this is where you tie your quarter note on beat 4 to a half note on beat 1 of the next bar. And literally it is just a curved line that joins one note to the next note. And what that does is that adds the note value of the next note to the first note. So now our quarter note is now worth 3 beats, but it's over the bar line. And that's how a tie works. There's another curved line that frequently gets confused for being a tie, and it's not. And it has 2 different names for it depending upon the context. It can be called a slur, but it can also be called a phrase marking. And this is a curved line that goes over a bunch of notes that are of different pitch. It doesn't join these notes together, but what it indicates is that these notes need to be played smoothly one into the next in one breath. So if you're playing a woodwind instrument, they need to be played in one breath. If you're playing a stringed instrument like a violin, it needs to be played in one bow motion rather than a down and then an up bow. Okay, so that's how those work. Tie and a slur / phrase marking. And yes, they do get frequently confused because they are curved lines. But the tie is a curved line that joins 2 notes of the same pitch together. But that is a good question. And that, like I said, would normally be a Wednesday Songwriting Simplified question. And I would show you that in Notion so that you can see how that works. Okay, let's go down a wee bit in the chat. Just Bob says, phone mic is perfect for me to hum guitar ideas when at work. I have a co-worker that will love this too. We'll pass the info along. Cool. Awesome. Just Bob says, is there a way to emulate an Echoplex old heavily used tape delay sound with Studio One plugins where the tape sounds degrade? You can do this with the analog delay, I believe. I don't quite know how to do it, but it can be done with the analog delay. You can make it sound like a tape. In fact, I even believe there might even be a preset in the analog delay where you can do that. Where you on feedback, as you get more and more feedbacks, it gets more and more distorted or something like that, or it gets thinner and thinner. So I think you can do that with the analog delay. Like I said, not 100% sure exactly on how you do it, but I'm pretty sure that there is a tape delay preset in the analog delay that you could use. We can have a look and we can see exactly how to do that. So let's go set this up here and let's go and grab the analog delay. And you're all saying, yeah, we can't see the screen. Don't worry, you're going to see it in just a minute. Relax. Okay, so analog delay. Let's see. I think it's this one here, Broken Tape Machine. I think it's this little preset here. So let's just... Yeah, that kind of sounds a little bit over the top. Let's dial that back a bit. Oops, I punched the mic. So let's just try just recording some weird sounding stuff. I mean, I've just been playing weird sounding stuff, so why don't we just record it, eh? Yeah, that'll do. I think that's sufficiently weird and crazy enough. So there you go. I hope that that kind of helps answer your question. He says, never seen that setting in analog delay. That will help get the weird sound on guitar that Prince's Purple Rain has. Not quite a chorus, but has a little bit of a wobble. Yes. Wobble delay. Yes. Yeah, so I hope that that answers that question. It's a good one. All right, so hopefully that has answered that that little question. It was definitely a good one. Thank you very much for that, Bob. I appreciate it. Kyle says, I have a bit of a wobble already. Yeah, I think that goes for kind of most of us when we reach a certain period in our lives where we are more prone to being wobbly than not being wobbly. I said that very drunkenly. I don't know why. It just came out that way. Secret Squirrel is here. Hello, mate. Good to see you. Welcome. Bobby Beard says you wouldn't have that wobble if you leave the bowl. That's funny. Let's see. Okay, so Dwayne's reasoning for wanting to do this project with the songs is because the bass player, he says, the bass player and I wanted to create a CD where the performance is corrected. Ah, I see. So you're basically taking a show from a long time ago and you're wanting to basically reissue it effectively and just pass the CDs around. I think that's a great idea. That is a really fantastic idea for a project, definitely. To resurrect some old performances, and you just want to kind of go in and tidy them up with some overdubs. That's a great idea. Okay, Ron. He says, that one of the reasons the band is no longer together, maybe just start a new band and get it right the first time. Oh, boy. Roger Beckett is here. Hello, Roger. Good to see you. It's been a wee while. Russell Harris is here as well. We are packing the joint here because we are up to 27 people. This is awesome, folks. Welcome, everybody. But here's the thing. Here's the problem I have. We only have 13 likes. So please hit the like button. Let's have a wee like rally and see if we can match likes with number of people here. So please smack the living shite out of the like button. I would appreciate it very much. If you find what I do here helpful, smack the like button. Even if you don't think what I do here is helpful, but you are here anyway, smack the like button. It helps me, and it's just a kind thing to do. It helps me because it recommends this channel and these shows to the YouTube algorithm, and the YouTube algorithm may just find it in the kindness of its cockles somewhere to get my show up on the YouTube homepage, and then more people are going to find it. So that would be very, very cool if you could do that. I would appreciate it a lot. In fact, Rich Cresswell says, crush the like button. Absolutely savage it, please. I would appreciate it. Okay, let's see. What else do we have? Kyle says, Johnny's Studio One meetup is this Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, and noon Pacific. Yes, it is also 8 p.m. UK time, 9 p.m. Central Europe time, and I believe it's going to be 11 p.m. in South Africa, and it's going to be 8 o'clock the following morning in New Zealand, and therefore it is going to be 6 o'clock in the morning in Sydney, Australia, and it's going to be 5 o'clock in the morning, I think, in Melbourne. I think I've got that right. I'm just going from memory. I could have my chronology with Australia backwards, by the way. It's entirely possible. But yeah, it's going to be around those times. And I know that in Christchurch is 12 hours ahead of where I am here in Scotland. So it's definitely going to be 8 a.m. the next day. So that would be 8 a.m. Saturday morning for you folks in New Zealand. And we have had people at the Studio One meetup who are from New Zealand. And it will be 3 o'clock in the morning for Mike Johnson over in the Philippines. Yes, of course. Okay. Let's see. I think Secret Squirrel had a question that was answered by Rich, which is awesome. Thank you, Rich, for helping out there. Roger Beckett says, love the new Fender Studio mobile app. Congrats, Johnny and team. Yes, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. And glad to have done it and glad to have got it out there. And hopefully a lot of people go and download it and find it useful. I found it really, really, really useful, especially for recording podcasts, actually. Normally when I do a podcast, I'm doing them online, so I'm using Teams, or I'm using what used to be Skype, or I'm using Discord or something like that to record the other person in the podcast. So I don't need to use Fender Studio for doing that. I use Studio One to do that. However, there were a couple of occasions where I was actually in person with the other person in this podcast. And so we basically just sat either side of a table, parked the laptop between us. So we're roughly equidistant from the microphone, and we recorded it all like that. And then what I did was I sent it to Studio One via DAW project, and then I just chopped it into respective people who were talking. And then and then did, separate processing on the separate microphones, basically. And then added the music bed, and it worked beautifully. But it was a smart little way to be able to capture the podcast in a location where we were actually in person. Handy to be able to do that. And we used my iPad to do that, and it was great. It worked really, really usefully. Rich Cresswell says, what will be used in place of Skype for shows? It's on its way out completely. In actual fact, Skype is already gone. Skype is already gone. So what they did was they migrated everybody who was on Skype, or gave them the chance to migrate over to Teams. And you could basically sign into Teams with your old credentials for Skype, and then all of your chats from Skype would basically get migrated over. I missed that by 1 day. However, I was able to sign into Teams with my Microsoft account without any problems whatsoever, and all of my original Skype chats are all there. All of my contacts are all there in Teams. So I will probably, for those occasions where I need to get somebody like you, Rich, on a show, we will use Teams. I know, bit of a pain in the arse. Not everybody likes Teams. It's not everybody's thing. But we could use Teams, or we could use Discord, or I'm sure there's like other ways of doing it. But Teams might be the easiest way to do it, since it's pretty much the direct replacement for Skype. So if you have a Skype account, you should be able to migrate over to Teams and sign in with your Microsoft account, and you should be good to go. And you should be able to get your previous chats to come over across into Teams. So yes, Skype is sadly no more, and I have already uninstalled it and replaced it with Teams. Don't fear change unless it's scary. Yeah, I don't. I never fear change. Having said that, I find change stressful. It's not that I'm afraid of it. I just find the whole thing uncomfortable and stressful. It's just a me thing. And it's actually, not uncommon for autistic people to experience high levels of stress when anything outside of their routine gets changed. Any part of their routine, any part of what is normal for them gets changed or has to change, they can find that very stressful. And I find it very stressful. So this is why I have not yet moved up to Windows 11, because I find the whole thing just too stressful. But I will be forced into it in October, because that's when Windows 10 gets discontinued, effectively. So, and I'm pretty sure that anything new will be on Windows 11 only going forward. So I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to cross that bridge. I just find it very stressful to think about it, and to actually do it. Let's see. Dave is here from Aurora's Boring Alice. He says, seeing how the US is no longer minting pennies, how are Spotify musicians going to get paid? Well, fortunately, here in the UK, we still have the penny coin. You guys don't, so I'm very sorry about that. I don't know. Maybe it will be just nickels instead. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go up to Windows 11 at some point. I just have to decide when and how to do it. Well, When I say the how, I know exactly how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it via update. I'm not going to do a fresh install, because I could be sat for, at least a day, if not more, reinstalling everything. And I don't want to have to go through all that shit. And yes, swear jar, but I don't want to have to go through that. So I won't be. I will basically just be doing it as a Windows update, basically. Rich says, need to adopt earlier as new versions will be around the corner, exacerbating that stress. I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. Rich says, self-promoting artists should use YouTube or Bandcamp. Definitely, I would give a vote for Bandcamp. I use Bandcamp, and it's awesome, actually. It's really, really great. So there is a way for you to go find me on Bandcamp. And you can find me at jonnylipsham.bandcamp.com if you're interested in finding me there. Let's see, let me go and drop that link in there. Has that come up now? No, it hasn't. Damn it. Hang on 1 second, folks. Here we go. Okay, let's see. One second. Okay, it's not going to let me do that. All right. Yeah, finally fixed. It was being a pain in the butt. There we go. There's my Bandcamp if you want to go check that out. And there's a very, very old record of mine if you want to hear some of my really old, maybe not so great stuff. But dig myself a hole. Not dig my hole. Dear God. Dig myself a hole. My single from a wee while back is there as well. So you can go and check that out if you would like to. Dave says Windows was kind of easy, just change the TP setting for me. Okay, cool. Keyman, that's Ron, says Bandcamp is a better model for getting paid. It is way better than Spotify or anything else for getting paid as a musician, for sure. Yes, they take a little bit of a cut, but they have to, they, at the end of the day, they have a business to run and they have to be profitable. So yeah, it's important. They have to take their little cut, but actually the way they do that, I think is very, very cool. And means that you actually keep more of the money that you earn than you would if you were just trying to accumulate plays on Spotify. Spotify is the world's worst place for trying to make money as a musician. It really is. I mean, in order to make $10, you have to have 100,000, if not more, plays on Spotify. To me, that's absurd. That's stupid. And doesn't, I mean, where's the benefit there for the artist? I think every artist should just withdraw from Spotify because it's just not worth the plays. You don't make enough money out of it. If you want your music to be just up there freely available for everybody to listen to, great, because a lot of people listen to stuff on Spotify. But you have to bear in mind, they're not going to buy your stuff. So use it as a fishing net. That's what I would say. Create your Spotify page, put your music up there, but promote the living crap out of your Bandcamp on there. Make sure that there is a link somewhere on your Spotify page that takes you to your Bandcamp where people can buy the music that you advertise on your Spotify page, because you're not going to make any money through Spotify. Forget about that. Use it as a fishing net. So that's what I would advise. Okay, cool. All right. I'm not seeing any other question. I'm going to go and check my email though to see if there are any other emailed questions, and it does not look like there are. So we have 4 minutes left. I'm happy to take another couple of questions whilst we're here. Let's wait and see. If not, if there are no other questions, then we'll just finish this early a little bit. We're not too terribly early. We'd only be like a couple of minutes early. But yes, I would like to finish at 1 a.m. So I'd like to do the full hour if at all possible, but that's kind of up to you guys. If you've got another question, I will take it. And I'm just going to scroll up the chat and see if there is anything, excuse me, that I may have missed. Just in case. It doesn't look like I have missed anything. No, I don't think there is anything that we've missed. So, and I'm not seeing any new questions. So, with that in mind, I will just remind you that we will be back on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified. So if you have a songwriting question, a question about composing, arranging, and music theory, I'll take those questions then. Because that's what that show is kind of all about, that kind of stuff. So if you've got questions around those kind of areas, be back here on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central. That would be the usual time for you in the mountainous regions of the United States. I think is 5, I think. But between now and then, we've got the Studio One meetup, which I am hosting on behalf of Presonus on Friday. So we've got a lot of things coming up. So we've got Songwriting Simplified on Wednesday, and then on Friday we will have the Studio One meetup, and then on Sunday we'll be back for Sunday Night Live. So you will get to see me 3 times over the course of the next week, you lucky, lucky people. So if you want to continue to hang out afterwards, you can join Rich's session at lnr.com. Go and check that out. There is a link there and you can talk. And the cool thing about LNR sessions is that you can actually hear music through a DAW as it's intended to be. So it's pretty cool. So if you guys want to go check that out, then join Rich over there. I'm sure he'd be delighted to see you. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming and for the great questions. This has been a really good show. It's been fantastic. So I will see you guys. I'll see you guys back here on Wednesday. And then, like I said, Friday for the meetup. So make sure you get stocked up on beers and all of that kind of stuff, because we drink those on meetups. Drinking beer on meetups is cool. I'll be doing that. I have a box of beer waiting in the fridge down there by the keyboard. There's a whole box of Punk IPA made by Brewdog, which is Edinburgh based, which is very, very cool. So I will see you then, folks. Good night.